everyone, and welcome to the Snackbar. My name is Jerry, and with me I have.
Hi, I'm Jed. So most times our theme song "Everything is Awesome" isn't appropriate or doesn't really fit, but today it fits.
Yes, and it
Yay!
always fits because everything is awesome, Jed. How dare
Okay,
you?
fine. Yeah, this is a good start to the show. This is me insulting you.
Alright, so before we go on to Lego Movie 2, as Jed has said, let's talk about the movies that we saw this week. And I'm sorry, but I want to be selfish a little bit. I want to say that the movie that I saw this week or last week, I finally watched The Greatest Showman.
Oh wow. Okay, so that's about a year. Is it a year? A year
Yeah, a
plus.
year.
Yeah.
And I find it amazing how critic proof this movie is. Because they have a critic inside who bashes them, but people are like, "Oh no, but we still really love this because it entertains us and it makes us feel so good about ourselves and humanity in general, and we love the all gender, all race, all little quirks that we have as a human race, and I love it. And it's amazing how the film parallels the movie in real life. And I'm so amazed by that. Just that in general, and I like the songs. That's all I have to say about the film. The story is not very good, and the characters are very weak. But the songs are really good. I really love the editing. Yeah, well, I didn't read what you said about The Greatest Showman. So do you remember what you thought of it, or was it that forgettable? Except for the songs, I'm sure.
Yes, I do remember what I thought of it. So it's interesting that you mentioned the inclusivity because I feel like making this movie like a vehicle for the message of inclusivity. It's really strange to have P.T. Barnum as the face of that because this is an infamous exploiter of people, exploiter of things. So in the movie and in real life, like his museum burns down a bunch of times. Like what they don't tell you is people speculate he burned the museum down for the insurance money.
Mhm.
So he began his career exhibiting. This is not in the movie. He began his career exhibiting this uh, black slave woman called Joyce Heth. So he claimed that she was 160 years old and that she was the nursemaid of George Washington. So he would have her on display, and then he would write in letters to the newspaper pretending to be other people, saying, "Oh, actually, it's not real. This exhibit is a robot, is an automaton." So that would make people go in and queue up and pay money to see the exhibit a second time to verify whether or not this woman is real. So the woman dies, and then he has an autopsy in a Broadway theater. So
Yeah.
thousands of people pay to watch this woman get cut up. And then the
Yeah.
doctor says she's probably 80 plus years old at most. And then P.T. Barnum is, no, the real woman is still alive touring Europe somewhere. So that's how he began his career.
See, I do have a problem with them using him as the main character, but if real life and movies viewed, my enjoyment of the film is based on what I know about the person in real life, then I don't think I would have liked something like Sound of Music as much, because I know Jane, not Jane, what's her name?
Maria.
Maria isn't that good of a person in real life, I heard
Yeah,
on
she's like,
Wikipedia.
she like, is she slave drove those children is what the thing was. Okay, so yeah, that's the whole thing is like how much of this movie should we take as based on a true story. And I think like I guess audiences in general have not really been discerning enough. Like I think there are a lot of people who will go and watch this movie and then will go and look up the actual true story of P.T. Barnum, but I think most people will just take what they are being shown and they will trust Hugh Jackman. It's like Hugh Jackman would never lie to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a problem with that. It's because the reason why Hugh Jackman chose P.T. Barnum to do a movie about is because like I think he is very much an old fashioned song and dance man, the type of which Hollywood doesn't really have. So he belongs kind of to the old Hollywood musical era. He's very much of that Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire like type. So his appeal is that he can do that and he can do action and he can do drama and romance. So he's one of those rare Hollywood superstars that really feels like an old-fashioned movie star. And this is an old-fashioned movie star vehicle. This is not a movie that would get made if not for Hugh Jackman kind of driving behind it for years and years and years. So he looked at this and he was like, okay, this is a good showcase for my skill set, and this is something I want to do. So the best part of this movie is Hugh Jackman is having the time of his life. Hugh Jackman is
Yeah.
having so much fun, and he's really enjoying it. And on that level, it's fine.
Because the Zac Efron character is made up, and so is the Zendaya character, and both
Yeah.
of them I think are the next two main characters in this film.
Yeah.
And I don't understand, and his kids are made up, so I don't understand why they can't just pretend that this is someone else.
Yeah, why they can't like make an
Make
amalgamation of P.T. Barnum.
Yeah, instead of saying that this is P.T. Barnum. But I mean, ironically, I like this film despite all its flaws because
Yeah, so do I.
it it's very sincere.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's very sincere, and it's sincere in a way that you don't see nowadays.
Yeah, and because musicals don't make a lot of money these days. They're expensive and they're not profitable in Hollywood, and Hollywood loves money. So I don't even see how this is a little bit cynical. So it's nice to see someone enjoying the craft, like Hugh Jackman, who like you said is enjoying himself so much in this film. But I think the editing is so well done. The music, the lyrics are all catchy and very sweet. I love A Million Dreams and Rewrite the Stars
Oh,
and This
I
Is
thought
Me.
Rewrite the Stars was terrible.
Oh, I love Rewrite the Stars. Maybe it's Zac Efron. I don't know. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's Zac Efron. What was your favorite song though from the?
A Million Dreams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good pick. My favorite song is Tightrope.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because I think like Michelle Williams is a really underrated part of this movie. She is a real triple threat. Like she is a legit Broadway actress, so she sings really, really well.
And the imagery of her dancing in the mansion and the curtains with her husband and the curtains swooshing and then he's gone, like that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like this film is so pretty to look at.
Yeah,
The CGI,
and
okay, fine,
like
the
sorry,
CGI
the
is
scene where they're on the rooftop, like really early on, and
yeah,
he swings her, and it's in time with all the sheets on the clothesline.
yeah.
Yeah,
And like okay, the CGI is terrible, but I
yeah.
think
I guess you're supposed to look at it as like a painting. I think that's one of the weird things about this movie is like very early on it conditions you into a state of hyper reality. So you're like, this is based on a true story, but this is not real life. And I think that's on purpose. It is to, and that's also what is a bit insidious about the movie is that it is very much this living fairy tale storybook, but you realize that there's a true story behind that it is sugarcoating and kind of like really, really beyond what normally true stories do. Because every movie based on a true story is bound to embellish or have inaccuracies. But in this one, it's kind of in the design. It's in the design that is not actually telling you the P.T. Barnum story. So I think the visuals are part of that. And that's part of why I find this movie very interesting. Because of how it's all packaged.
yeah, I mean, I feel very because I don't want to say things like, oh, you shouldn't let reality and films, you can always separate them, because sometimes films are propaganda and they in the end rewrite history, and you don't want to tell them lies like that, because they can affect someone's life and they can affect how someone views someone else's life. And I don't want people to think that PT, right, PT Barnum was a good guy. Like
Yeah.
he did horrible things to animals and to people, and he created the circus, which even though gave people who never really had a platform, he killed animals, and he promoted this cruelty, which is like tiger training, and I don't know. It's very a scumbag move. He's a scumbag in real life. I know that, but like I'm watching this film and it feels so sincere, which is the opposite of what P.T. Barnum is. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very torn, even though I would say that I like this film because this film isn't trying to tell a story. It's just trying to entertain you, and it was very entertaining.
And another thing is like I found out later that it really did the Jenny Lind the character, the Rebecca Ferguson character, dirty because they
Yeah.
made her the bad guy.
Mhm.
And in real life there wasn't any of the the affair subplot, and she gave all of her proceeds to charity.
Yeah.
So
I
like,
don't know why they chose that character to
yeah, and
drag through the mud.
this typical kind of like, don't trust the foreign woman kind of thing. And it was the foreign woman is out to seduce the good American man.
Yeah.
And it was just really, really strange. Okay, about the songs, I thought a lot of the music, I think, just stylistically didn't work, and I think that's because Michael Gracie was going for a top 40 kind of sound, and there's
Mhm.
this purposeful incongruity. So supposed to remind you a bit of like Moulin Rouge, where the modern sound doesn't go with the period; it's anachronistic. So I think that works for some people, but that didn't really work for me. Like, it pulled me out of it. Like, I think the worst was when you had the you had the solo that Jenny Lind was singing, right? And Never
Yeah.
Enough. Yeah, so she's an opera singer who is singing what is decidedly not opera. So when I watched it the first time, I turned to my friend, like, we both laughed the moment she started singing. And because it's like, but part of the story is that she's supposed to be an opera singer, but she can't sing opera because that's not the sound that you're going for. So there's this weird dichotomy going on, and a lot of the music, I think the instrumentation is very superfluous. Like, even in Tightrope, I love Tightrope, but they have these electronic beeps and boops that kind of break it up. Like, it begins with a very simple, kind of like it's a piano melody, and then it comes in, then it sounds like Morse code. Like someone's trying to signal somebody in Morse code in the middle of the song. And I think Pasek and Paul are very, very good at writing to the brief. So they were given instructions and they fulfilled what they were supposed to do. And I would recommend like checking out the behind the scenes documentary where they go through in really, really detailed, like really in depth, the process of writing each of the songs.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is what's interesting about this as well. Is this is before they were hired, before they got famous, before Dear Evan Hansen,
La
before
La
La La
Land.
Land. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and see, I like that because I love Hercules, the Disney one, and I love that they use gospel to tell their story
right. And
in
also
their
see like
songs.
like a Vegas kind of
Yeah,
show to it. Yeah.
like I always love that kind of contrast in my musicals because as long as the music is good, I'm okay with whatever style they choose, and I'm always more inclined to like the weird. Like I love Eddie Murphy as Mushu in Mulan. It's weird that they chose him, but I'm glad that they did. It's the weird cultural difference or the weird period
Yeah, the
contrast.
anachronisms. Right.
Yeah,
So
I'm sorry.
yeah.
My my vocab is not as great as yours,
No,
Chad.
it's just that like I think it works for some people, but it kind of felt a bit, hello fellow kids. Like
Mhm.
if the music doesn't sound like something kids are gonna get on iTunes or stream on Spotify, then it's not gonna sell. So
I did
yeah.
I did both.
So like there are songs in this I really like, but I felt like because there is an existing P.T. Barnum musical called Barnum from the 70s. It starred Michael Crawford, who went on to play the Phantom of the Opera. So
Yeah.
yeah, like that one, I think the emphasis in that musical is very much on the circus tricks. Like Michael Crawford himself like rides a unicycle on a tightrope in that show. So I think it's like much more lighthearted. I think that show also doesn't really like. I think it also treats P.T. Barnum with kid gloves the way that Greatest Showman does. But
Mhm.
yeah, like in terms of the Pasek and Paul, like their discography, I like the songs in La La Land a lot more than I like those in Greatest Showman. But in Greatest Showman, there are a few songs that I really did like. Like I think Million Dreams, that's a great like passage of time song. I love me a passage of time song, like a
Me
song that is
too.
used, yeah, that plays over a montage. So that was really, really good. And yeah, and I like Tightrope because like Michelle Williams is fantastic, and yeah, I did not like Never Enough, and I did not like Rewrite the Stars because I felt like Rewrite the Stars kind of, it's like the subtext is text. It's like
Yeah, but
it's just short of them going, I'm black and you're white and therefore we can't love each other. It's the lyrics were almost that.
yeah, I would like to say that I love my star-crossed lover romance. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I really love Rewrite the Stars because it's exactly that.
It
And
does, yeah. That's the title of the song.
and the visuals of that video, it's so pretty and nice, and I really really like the choreography in this film. I totally butchered that. Yeah, but I really really
Yeah,
it's
the
just it's
choreography is really good because there are a lot of group numbers where like it's literally an obstacle course. People are literally like navigating explosions as they're dancing.
yeah.
Like
And
these little special effects gags going off as people are dancing around them.
I am very happy that this film did well because I think that it has a very positive message, and this is something happy Hugh Jackman. I'm very happy because
Yeah, it is
he's
happy Hugh
been
Jackman.
he's been starring in a lot of bombs. So it's nice that Logan and Greatest Showman became one of his best years
Yeah,
in
2017 was a
film.
good year for him. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, what is a bit sad is like, I would highly recommend you check out the behind the scenes documentary on the Blu ray because, like, there's a whole bit where they sidestep how originally they had cast Jeremy Jordan in the Zac Efron role.
Yeah.
So they show you like the rehearsals and the table reads, and it's all Jeremy Jordan, but they refuse to acknowledge him. They say this was originally someone else, another guy, and it
Oh,
was just really weird to me. It's like, what did Jeremy Jordan do to you?
Jeremy Jordan needs to be a freaking Disney prince. He
Yeah,
has the
yeah.
voice of an angel.
And like I feel like I would have liked him better than as good as Zac Efron is in this role. This is a very Zac Efron role. I
Yeah.
would have liked him better. Yeah, the other song that I really like is The Other Side, which is the one where
Yeah.
they do the shot glass choreography, and that
Uh
feels
huh.
like a very old fashioned kind of musical
Musical.
set piece.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
love
the
it too.
bartender comes out in between and sweeps the floor. It's really, really fun. Yeah, so that was great because that's like a very much a let's make a deal kind of song. So
Yeah.
there are moments in this where you can tell that they were referencing old fashioned musicals. But to me, yeah, I mean, the thing that you like was kind of what pulled me out of it a little bit. The anachronism created a bit of an incongruity, whereas, like, I know they're going for a classic feel, but they're doing that in everything but the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to me,
Yeah.
that you get what I mean, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I
not that I
understand.
didn't like the music just because it
They
was
were
modern.
bad.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. um. But I really want to thank you for letting me talk about this because
No, you're welcome. Yeah.
I've been so I don't know. I've been thinking about this movie the past week ever since I watched it, and I couldn't get it out of my head because it's such an interesting film.
Yeah.
Because of how meta it is, first of all, how the music is really catchy, so I can't get that out of my head. And like it was Chinese New Year this week. I had to travel all the way to the west, so I had that on my Spotify,
Oh, that's
just
where
to
I
like
am.
just to ease the pain of traveling to the
Traveling to
west
the
because I
west.
stay all the way in the east.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in West Central
Well, not
ish.
east. I'm like northeast.
Northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and yeah,
ugh.
it's an
So,
interesting movie to talk about because I feel like um there are people who I think in general like people either love this movie or they're kind of like very dismissive and cynical about it.
yeah.
So it is interesting to parse why it's resonated with so many people and why it's so successful and why people love it and
Yeah,
not dismiss that out of hand.
and the thing that you know me and my team the review that we had of TMNT where I almost broke down because I couldn't fathom why I enjoyed this film even though everything in my brain is telling me this is such a horrible film. The character traits are horrible, and
Not you about to
Leonardo
get shell shocked.
and Leo was so not Leo in it, and I was so upset. But I like this is the same thing for me because every character feels like they've missed one part of their arc. Like you introduce them to something, you introduce them to a conflict, and suddenly the conflict is solved.
In the Greatest Showman?
Yeah, in the Greatest
Yeah, yeah.
Showman, like
And it's
Zac
partially because
Efron.
there are too many characters.
Yeah, like Zac Efron meets Zendaya, and then suddenly they're together because they held hands, and
Yeah, and his
they
parents are
and then
racist, but that doesn't
no no no
matter now.
no, you're missing a beat. Like Zendaya gets mad at Zac Efron for not holding her hand in
Right,
front of
right.
white people, and Zac Efron is suddenly okay with that,
Yeah.
and but then Zendaya isn't because she doesn't like the way. Like I don't like they miss so many beats in this film. I don't get it, but I still really rooted for both of them to get together at the end, and I was so happy. Like, he's like, oh, he's going to the fire to save her, and I love that they avoided the cliche that she was inside the fire, but she was fine all along, and P.D. Barnum obviously had to like go save Zac Efron and carried him out because he's the hero of the story and hero in real life, and he had a home for everyone. Oh, it's such a weird movie. Like, the story and the characters are not good, but it's so freaking charming that
Yeah.
I really like it.
And like there is a very worthwhile message to This Is Me, you know? Like
Yeah.
that's the ultimate sort of like theater kids song. Like
Like,
like theater kids all over the world like, oh, this song understands me.
yeah. And I don't
I
think
am bruised.
I I love that line.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so
good.
good.
It's good. Yeah. And it kind of reminds me, I mean, the Aquaman song kind of reminds me of that. The line, I know you're covered with scars and there's pain in your heart. But yeah,
Okay.
but no one sees you like I do. I love that song. That song is so great. The Aquaman song.
I have not listened to it yet.
The Skylar Grey song. Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
the final thoughts about Greatest Showman are Michael Gracie. I don't know what the status of this is, but the director of this movie was supposed to be doing the Hollywood Naruto adaptation.
Okay. Oof.
So we'll end it there and see what happens to that. I
Alright.
wish him all the best. He's a guy who did commercials in Australia. So I think he
Oh.
directed Hugh Jackman in a commercial for a soft drink or something. And then Hugh
Okay.
Jackman was like, I like you, let's do Greatest Showman.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful film. Whoever's the director of photography in this film, good job, amazing job.
Yeah, and it's like so impressive for a feature debut. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like a feature debut. It's quite a polished
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Do you have any movie you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, we'll run through some of the Chinese New Year blockbusters. Okay, so do you want to do Kill or Not Stupid first? Let's get that out of the way. Okay,
Yeah,
so this
sure.
is the only like Chinese New Year movie that I went and saw because I have to review at least one. So I was like, okay, let's do the Jack Neo one. So this is really, really
Why?
bad.
It's a Stephen Chow one, isn't it?
There's a Stephen Chow one, right? Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, like, I have to admit I was morbidly curious because this is an action comedy. So, like, Taiwan threw a bunch of money at him to go and
Mhm.
make this movie in Taiwan with Taiwanese actors. It's very, very bad. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my career doing this. And it's strange because, like, the first thing people will say is, oh, you're not part of the target demographic. But I've heard that
What
people
is
have...
the target demographic in this
Taiwanese
film?
people? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I think like uncles and aunties as well, like the typical, heartland audience who watches a Jack Neo film. And the reason why his movies do well in Taiwan is they also have a culture of national service and they also speak Hokkien, Minnan. So
Okay.
so the jokes play over there as well as they do here. So like a Jack Neo movie will be released Singapore, Malaysia, Taiwan. And I heard that apparently there's a second run theater in Taiwan that has been playing Money No Enough 2 non-stop since 2009. So there's
Because
one...
it's doing well, or because
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's like this second run theater which has just for some reason been screening this movie non-stop since so apparently there's enough of an audience who goes to watch that every week question mark. So yeah, so Taiwan throws a lot of money at him, and it just made me very, very sad because I was like, imagine what a good filmmaker could do with these resources, with the car chases and the shootouts and the explosions. Like, the plot, the bare bones of the plot, like, I don't think it's an awful plot, it's just that it's needlessly convoluted. So it's a standard plot where it's the one last job of this assassin. He's like, I'm gonna do one last job and then I'm out. But then there are a lot of complications. He bumps into random people, and then there are a lot of different forces pursuing the MacGuffin, which is this secret list of like terrorist operatives on a hard drive, on a thumb drive. And then there's a bunch of other comic relief characters. There's one character who thinks that he's Chin Han and Bruce Lee. He thinks that he's 70s movie stars. And then there's another character who's like a sport princess with a pink wig. And it's just very, very bad. Every character is the irritating comic relief character. Like, every movie has one. This movie, every character is the irritating comic relief character. Except for the main character. So, yeah, it was just weird because it's like, it's a Jack Neo movie where, I mean, he's dabbled with action before, very half-heartedly in the A Boys to Men movies. I did a set visit where I saw a car get crushed by a tank, and it was like a fairly boring thing.
Okay.
Because like the nature of movie sets is wait, go 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 go, wait. So it's like we waited for 3-4 hours. They rolled the thing over, and they're like, okay, we reset, and there's another 2 or 3 hours. So that's just how it works. But I just wish that Singapore could make good action movies.
Yeah.
I feel like there are a lot of filmmakers with that potential, but they've just been said no to so many times, and only someone with Jack Neo's clout has access to these resources. So that made me very disheartened.
And also at the same time, I don't think you have the stunt people to carry out those stunts.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think we do, and I think our stunt people are getting better and better. But at the same time, like, what was very discouraging is Jack Neo. He did, I think the Boys to Men, the third one, right, the one where they are frogmen, the one
Yeah.
which is so he hired the team from the Raid to do the stunts in the
Oh.
opening. Yeah, like
Oh, that's amazing.
I know, isn't that awful? Isn't that sad? Like, so that technically, feasibly could be a Singapore filmmaker who is like, all right, well, we have local stunt people, but we're going to augment it with a stunt team that we get from overseas.
Oh, yeah.
So that's such a waste of like, and so if you watch the behind the scenes footage, it's like the people from the Raid are training Tosh and Noah Yap to do stunts, and it's like, why? It makes me sad, because it's
Yeah.
like I feel like it's high time Singapore made a District 9 or made the Raid, like a good solid genre thing that can travel, and this is not it. This is really, really, really bad. So one of the less bad jokes, which is already a really bad joke, is the henchman of the villain fires a rocket launcher into the air, and then, sad trombone noise, literal sad trombone noise, the projectile lands on the floor. And turns to his boss and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I bought this on an 11/11 sale," which is Chinese Black Friday. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's just that. It was interminable. It felt like 5 hours. It's a 2 hour
Yeah.
movie. It felt really, really long. And
It's a 2-hour film.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
so
very,
sorry.
very bad. Like, I mean, I don't want to sound snobbish or anything. I don't want to meet the people who find this funny. If you find this funny, stay far away from me. It is horrifying that anyone would find this funny. Just horrifying.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's Killer Not Stupid. Okay, so the day that I went for the screening, there was supposed to be a press conference, but the press conference was cancelled out of respect for the passing of Aloysius Pang. He died
Yeah.
like the night before. And he's not directly involved in the movie, but I think a bunch of the people involved in the movie have made movies with him in it before. Or it's just like the general Singapore entertainment industry had a blackout day, so we didn't have the press conference.
Yeah.
So it was like it's just like just felt kind of weird that this was supposed to be kind of an upbeat celebratory thing, and there was that everyone had to process and deal with. But yeah, it's just not a good movie, and
Yeah.
it's like, why does he have to make one of these every year? But that's what a lot of people say. They say my family tradition is in Chinese New Year we go and watch a Jack Neo movie. Is like, isn't it miserable enough? Isn't
It's
Chinese New Year miserable enough without having to watch a Jack Neo movie?
it's like the Medea films, you know?
Yes, it
It's
is
just
like
tradition.
the Medea films. That is the truest thing I've heard anyone say. Thank you for dropping truth. Oh my god, it is. Yeah, and he even like has a Medea character, Liang Po
Yep.
Po, right? And also Liang Si Mei. Yeah, that's true. Wow, all right. That's depressing. Singapore Tyler Perry. Yeah, very much
Yeah.
so. Yeah, so that's Killer Not Stupid. Alita,
I'm so sorry I had to watch that.
thank you for your sympathies. Yeah. Okay, so well, I talked a little bit about Alita last time we did this, which is for How to Train Your Dragon 3. Yeah, I'm confused because How to Train Your Dragon 3 comes out next to Lego Movie 2, so I was the end of that.
Yeah.
So Alita, I'm kind of surprised it has a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes because I thought it would top out at a 45. I did not like this movie, and a lot of it is because the boyfriend is stupid and lame. The boyfriend is like a Disney Channel original movie love interest.
Mhm.
And it's weird because I've been told by friends who read the manga that the boyfriend is kind of unhinged and psychotic in the comic, and there are a lot of like darker overtones that the movie kind of sends down, which is a thing to be expected. So they're very much trying to have a little bit of the weirdness of the source material, but they're also trying to make it palatable to mass audiences. So it comes out this very boring, homogenized thing.
I just don't understand why Hollywood want to adapt something from Japan where they like the idea, but then make it boring and Hollywoodish, you know? Like, if you can't afford this film, then just don't do it. I don't understand why they the Naruto thing, right? Like you said, what do Americans know about ninjas?
Yeah, I don't know how, like, okay, so there are examples of anime or manga adaptations that are recontextualizations that work. I think the one that comes to mind being Edge of Tomorrow, which is adapted
Okay, yeah.
from All You Need Is Kill. Yeah, so
But to be honest, I read the book. I don't know whether the translation is bad, but it's not a very interesting book.
right, yeah,
Because I really loved the movie and I wanted to see, because it is from a Japanese short novel. I'm
like
not sure what they're
a
called.
light novel. I think that's what it's
Yeah, a
called.
light
Yeah,
novel, sorry. And I thought like the light novel would be better, but even though I like the ending for the light novel more, which is the girl dies,
okay,
I think, but the the story itself isn't very intriguing, and I think it's because of the charm of Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. Is it?
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
was Emily
and the
Blunt.
editing in the film was really fun,
Oh,
and it
that's
was,
such a good movie. I love that movie.
yeah,
Yes.
it's a fantastic film. But I heard Alita, because I've never read a manga, but from what you're telling me, it just sounds like a dumbed down version of it. And if they're not willing to to take the interesting ideas, like the dark tones of it, then why do they bother making this film? And it's not as if the Japanese are gonna watch this, because I don't like, I've never heard of Alita. If I've never heard of it, it probably isn't that popular in for the mass audiences, because I'm not into the Japanese culture stuff when it comes to anime.
Yeah,
Like,
neither
I
am
know,
I. Like, yeah,
yeah, like
I cover
obviously,
myself with weep repellent every day before I leave the house.
I mean, I'm friends with weeps. So if they tell me things and I hear about it a lot, that probably means that it's super popular. Like, I know My Hero Academia, right?
Yeah,
I don't know if you've heard of it, but that to me is mainstream. And I
yeah,
understand
yeah,
if Hollywood want to do it. I don't want them to do it. But something like Elita, like, you put that much money into something like that and you take away its fangs. What do you think is gonna happen?
yeah. And like the parts of the movie that are interesting are the body horror parts, but it's very very limited. There's like little bits of body horror, and okay, so why I think this movie ended up the way it did is because this was something James Cameron wanted to do in the 90s. Like, he very much was, okay, I found this cool thing, and this cool thing is mine now, and I'm gonna do it. He didn't do it for 20 years, and he went on to Avatar. And then while he was busy doing Avatar, I think they're like 5 or 6 that he's doing now. He wanted to find someone to pass Alita onto, so he passed it on to Robert Rodriguez, who did, Sin City, Spy Kids 1 through 4, Machete, Planet Terror, what is it called? Desperado. Yeah. So he is the guy who's like famous for mariachi style. He's famous for shooting a movie with nothing, and he broke into Hollywood like a bit like a Tarantino. Like, his reputation was he can make a movie with nothing. So here's a guy who makes a movie with nothing, and you give him $200 million, and it's boring.
Yeah.
And that's invariably what happens in Hollywood. So I feel like so far, Marvel has been very good with that. Marvel has been very good at taking indie directors and kind of giving them the support that enables them to make good big budget movies. But this movie, it's weird because I can't tell whether I wanted it to be weirder or I wanted it to play it more straight. But it plays like the Chosen Girl thing very, very straight. And the problem is it's hyped up as this female empowerment, like, feminist action movie, but she's not like a great role model kind of character. She's not really interesting, and she's not anything we haven't seen before. I mean, Rosa Salazar is great in the role, and anytime it's just a bit weird that they're selling it on the novelty of a CGI character in live action film, because they've had that a lot. So this was something that would have been novel in the 90s when it was planned, and the technology had to catch up to that idea. I think James Cameron was very much attracted to what technology can I use to make this movie.
So it's a bad film.
Yeah, it's tough for me to see because I personally didn't like it, but a lot of people do, and the vast majority of people who've seen it, whom I've seen like comment on things on Facebook groups, liked this movie a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's just like, I don't know, a lot of it was because I found it very melodramatic. There's a lot of really cheesy bits that are very hard to take seriously.
You know
Like,
what? Maybe it's that's why you're not into Japanese culture. Because that sounds very Japanese, melodramatic.
yeah,
I would say that's most Japanese things.
there's a scene in the movie where she literally opens her chest and takes out her mechanical heart and tells her boyfriend, "I would give you my heart," and she's
Okay.
holding the thing. And then like her catchphrase is basically, "I'm just an insignificant girl who was thrown out with the rest of the garbage." A spoiler alert, she's the most significant girl who ever significant girl. Yeah. It's but okay. Another thing is the movie like really wastes the supporting cast. Like it's super waste Mahershala Ali and Jennifer Connelly. They're the villains of the movie. They're really really boring. So
Yeah.
the villains who like have fun with it at screen, Francis from Deadpool, he's fine. He's one of the bounty hunters. Like he just has a face. Everything else about him is mechanical. He's a robot, and the only human part of him is a face.
Yeah.
But it's very over the top. It's like all these cackling villains, like, "Where are you, little girl? Come out and play." You know, that kind of thing, which is like, at no point in this movie was I worried for Alita, because she repeatedly proves that she's such a badass that nothing can actually harm her.
Yeah.
And then there's one scene where she gets like physically hurt that reminded me of something from Monty Python.
Okay. That's always a great sign.
Yeah, so it's like I just couldn't stop laughing in that scene. And apparently it's like someone showed me the panels from the comic that it's taken from. And it's like, okay, fine, they're trying to match that moment in the comics, but it's just like, yeah. So I don't know, man, because this movie, it is set to lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
But
But I
yeah.
would like to say, um, whoever's the marketing behind this or whoever believes in this film, good for you.
Yeah,
Because apparently got a Super Bowl ad, which
yeah,
is not
which is expensive.
which is not very cheap. So
Yeah,
I don't know
and
who believes in this film, but I applaud your faith in this film,
I mean,
even
like,
though
I
everyone
guess
sees it failing.
the credibility behind it is James Cameron, John Landau, Robert Rodriguez. Like, they keep on saying these are the people involved in it, but it's like they're also capable of not making great stuff. And it's a shame, because when you say James Cameron, you think of Terminator 2, and you think of like how much better Terminator 2 did a lot of these ideas than this movie did, because this movie is a very basic Pinocchio kind of thing, where Christoph Waltz is your Geppetto, you know, and the Pinocchio is this killer robot girl who I would describe as a 300-year-old, 5-year-old teenager, because her mannerisms are very giggly and very 5-year-old, but then she's a teenager, but she's also this thing that was built 300 years ago. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's an anime thing,
Yeah.
because like
Okay.
anime women are designed to look like babies, so I always find that very disturbing. Like, I cannot find anime women attractive, because like they're supposed to look like babies. They're babies' heads on 20-year-old bodies.
Oh, they either hot or cute. There's no in between for anime.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the eyes were interesting. Like, I thought, like, okay, you're doing that as an uncanny valley thing on purpose. So I wasn't as bothered by the eyes as a lot of people were.
I'm still very bothered by it.
Yeah, because like after a while, I was like, okay, it's a style thing. It's like you're supposed to look at her and be reminded that she's not human. So it's a bold choice, and I think a lot of people, like, I've seen people say I cannot watch this movie because of the eyes. I've seen people like have that much of a problem with it, so I understand that it can be really unsettling. But I guess like it gets better after you watch it for a while. I don't know. So yeah, that's Alita, I guess.
Yep. Oh, you've convinced me not to watch it. Not that I ever wanted to, because it looked awful.
Yeah,
And
it's just like when I saw the trailers for it, this is a movie that's delayed a lot. Like, until recently, the poster on my website, I didn't update it, and it said July. I was like, oh no, I got to go update this. It's not coming out in July 2018 anymore.
oh
Yeah,
well.
so that's not
Yeah.
usually not a good sign. Dark Phoenix.
Okay. And the other one, what's Inhumans or something?
New Mutants.
New Mutants. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry,
It's alright.
Fox. It's
Sorry,
all
Fox.
Fox. Yeah.
Uh, this was by Fox too, right?
Alita, yes, this is a
Yeah.
big
Sorry,
Fox
Fox.
thing. So yeah,
I if it's any consolation, Fox, even though the kid who would be king is
oh yeah,
bombing in the box office, I'm really looking forward to that film because it got very good reviews.
yeah, and
So
I didn't know it was Joe Cornish, the guy who did Attack the Block.
me
So
neither.
yeah,
So now I'm interested.
so am I. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart is in it apparently. So
Yep. Okay, so let's go on to Lego Movie 2. I had no good segue for that. So yeah, so because Alita apparently is not awesome, let's go on to something that is awesome, and that is the Lego Movie 2, the second part. Is that what it's called, or is it the Lego Movie the second part?
yeah, I think it's released in Singapore just as the Lego Movie 2, but the full title is Lego Movie 2, the second part, which
Yeah,
is
there we
great.
go.
Yeah, because the first
Yeah.
movie was the subtitle was going to be The Piece of Resistance.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so cute. I wish I had that.
that was the MacGuffin that Emmett was carrying around on his back.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so the working title was the Lego Movie, The Piece of Resistance.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love this. I love this franchise. Okay, so Jet, what's the Lego Movie 2, the second part about?
yeah, the Lego Movie 2 takes place 5 years after the Lego Movie. So we found out at the end of the Lego Movie that there's actually a human world. And at the very, very end of the Lego Movie, the dad, Will Ferrell, tells his son, Drayden Sands, okay, now that I'm letting you play with my collection, you gotta let your sister come down and play too. So the sister is played by Brooklyn Prince, and the sister's toys are represented by the invading force of the Sistar system. So over 5 years, the Sistar system has ravaged Bricksburg and turned it into Apocalypseburg. So now it's like a Mad Max dystopian future, and the only one who's the same and unchanged is Emmett. So everyone else is like battle hardened. The Statue of Liberty has been turned into this fortress, and Emmett he clings on to his dream of his dream house, and he wants a normal life, and not very much has changed for him, even though everything has changed for everyone else. So the latest invading force from the Sistar system is led by General Sweet Mayhem, voiced by Stephanie Beatriz. So she comes to Apocalypseburg, and she kidnaps a bunch of Emmett's friends, including Lucy, voiced by Elizabeth Banks, Batman, voiced by Will Arnett, Unikitty, voiced by Alison Brie, Metal Beard, voiced by Nick Offerman, and Benny the 1980-something spaceman, voiced by Charlie Day. I think that's everyone, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So she takes them to the Sistar system, and Emmett goes off in search of them. So along the way, Emmett bumps into a mysterious new ally named Rex Dangerfest, also voiced by Chris Pratt. So this is the guy that Emmett dreams he could be. He's a raptor trainer, he's an intergalactic crime fighter, he's a cowboy, and his spaceship is entirely staffed by raptors. So Emmett wants to learn how to be cool and how to be badass from Rex, and Rex is going to help Emmett get to the Sistar system. So in the Sistar system, the kidnapped residents of Bricksburg have an audience with Queen Whatever Wannabe, voiced by Tiffany Haddish. It's this shape-shifting ruler of the Sistar system who may or may not have sinister designs upon Batman.
All right.
Yeah, that's a
So,
synopsis of the Lego Movie 2.
um, I I I must say I really loved the first Lego Movie,
Oh yeah, so did
and
I. It's brilliant.
yeah, it was my favorite film of that year, which is 2014, same year as when How to Train Your Dragon 2 and Big Hero 6 came out, so that's saying a lot. Um, I think it's unfair to have a bar set that high because of the Lego Movie, and I think the Lego Movie 2 is a very good follow up to what the Lego Movie was. It has, Emmett is still Emmett, and I feel like he has grown since the second film. Oh, sorry, since the first film, and he's well, what would I say grown? I don't know, because I feel like he is more or less the same,
Yeah, he's the same character. I mean, like,
but
the
it
sorry,
doesn't feel like he regressed.
yeah, there's development without him losing the core of who he is. Like all of the characters retain their core personality traits, and there's one bit where Benny says like saying spaceship is my only personality trait, which is one of the
Yep.
great lines in the film. But there's room for them for the characters to for you to play with for the filmmakers to play with the characters and kind of explore their motivations within the framework established by their characterization in the first movie.
Yeah. So I I've seen some reviews for this, um and I think it's like 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, where some critics say that it's not as good or it's not as funny. But I disagree. Like, I think it's just as witty and funny as the first one. It's not as fresh, obviously, because it's the Lego Movie Part 2.
Yeah,
And,
just that can't be
and
helped, I guess.
yeah, and I don't that's yeah, that can't be helped. So if you don't really compare it to the first film, it, it may not be as refreshing, but I think it still has the same amount of heart. It has something to say, and it has a very good message, a very heartwarming message, and the characters are all very likable. The songs are still very catchy. Some songs are gonna get stuck inside your head,
Yeah, by
and
design.
yeah, by design, and very cool cameos. You know, not as good as the first one, I admit, but like one cameo in particular was really good.
Yeah,
Um,
please remember which cameo that was for spoilers. We'll
yep,
talk about
okay.
the cameos. Yeah, like, I mean, I totally agree with you. Going into this movie, I had really, really high expectations because I loved the first movie. I think the first movie is almost perfect. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like, there's a thing you were saying earlier on when we were talking about the trailer. You said Lord and Miller not directing this, so you were afraid that it would be like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2.
Yeah, but they wrote this.
They did. And
Yeah.
it still very much has their stamp on it. That feeling of good-hearted anarchy, like happy
Mhm.
chaos. I think I would best describe their style of humor as happy chaos. And that's very much this. And the message is brilliant. It's a lot deeper than you're expecting it to be. And
Yep.
it's a different message from the first movie, but it's in line with the first movie. And I think there were people who said that the message is heavy-handed, and I disagree with that. I think it is very, very nuanced.
Mhm.
And there are parts of it which I was shocked by, like towards the end when there was some revelations, like, okay, they're doing this, they're going there, and I'm very happy they are. We'll get into that in spoilers. And yeah, there's some of the negative reviews say, I get a headache because there's too much going on at once, which I guess is a similar thing some people said of Into the Spider-Verse. But I think like the style of this movie, the animation style, I just really, really love the
Yeah.
look, the way they approximate stop motion with CGI is beautiful and never gets old. Like after watching the first one, Lego Batman, Lego Ninjago, it still looks gorgeous, this movie.
Yeah. And like the Queen character, the way she's animated is so unique and
Yeah.
so true to Lego. And
Yeah, that's right.
it's like little things, it's like things like this where I can't believe someone thought of that.
Yeah.
How can you write that down? How can you write that in a screenplay and have someone understand what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and have animators understanding what you need, and having riggers making sure that the animators can do something with it, and having that idea in your head, like from writing to storyboarding to rigging to animation, and then yeah, that's all, I guess. And it's so cool. Like, it's so cool to look at. Like what you said, the aesthetics is awesome, and the way they integrate live action into this. Like, okay, it's a spoiler, I'll talk about it later, but it's really, really cool. And yeah, and the songs, I I wasn't expecting a full blown musical,
Yeah, I
because the
wasn't
first one
expecting
wasn't a full blown musical.
Batman to have a song about how he has lips like Val Kilmer.
Uh huh. And I think they did a really cool uh reprise of Everything Is Awesome, and they added new meaning to that song. So that's
Yeah.
great as well. Like, they build up, and it's such a worthy sequel because they took things that you know in the first film and they just build up on it, and they get characters change,
Yeah.
and I thought like this film is really good. Like, we I think I enjoyed this as much as I did with How to Train Your Dragon, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less, but um
Like yeah, this
yeah,
this
that
movie, like everything I wanted out of a sequel, it gave me.
yeah.
So at the end, I was like, I'm not this. It's not like, oh, I wish this lived up to the first one. I didn't feel like that at all.
Yeah, and honestly, my only problem with this film is that it doesn't feel fresh, but that's not the fault of this film.
Yeah, because it's expanding that universe and it's very much using the same visual vocabulary. So you're not gonna have the same feeling that you had when you first saw the animation, when you first realized that every
Thing is
splash
like
of
Lego.
water, yeah, every bullet
It
hit is a Lego element, is an existing like part that you can get on Bricklink. So that feeling you can't match the first time you realize that, but they still do kind of unique, interesting things with that. And I mean, just the design of Apocalypse Burg, like
Yeah.
the existing set that they have, I think it costs $490 here. So it's a set that is the Statue of Liberty, and it's nuts. It's like there's so much detail into something that you're not seeing for very long in the film. But it's a whole functioning society. Like they re-engineered the entirety of Bricksburg into that Statue of Liberty.
Um, I think my biggest flaw I have with this film is are the characters, or the new ones are not as um are not that well, okay, fine. I digress. You know what, let me take back what I said. I think the first film, they had an amazing cast.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell which was my favorite. Like, first I love Benny, but I love Batman, I love Emmett, I love the unicorn.
Yeah,
I love
Unikitty.
I love the god. What's his the uh,
Vitruvius, right? The Morgan
Vitruvius.
Freeman character. And I think my favorite was Good Cop, Bad Cop.
Oh yeah, good cop, bad cop. Who wasn't in this film?
Yeah, there was no Liam
And
Neeson. No.
yeah, uh, and like I couldn't find a favorite.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
but this is I didn't. Emmett was clearly my favorite because he was the only one. Him and Wild Style, I guess, were the only ones that got real character development in this film.
Yeah,
The
that's
rest
a
of
fair
them,
thing to say, I think.
the
Yeah.
rest of them were barely in it. And the Queen, I love her as a character, but she's not like freaking Morgan Freeman, you know?
That's true. Yeah. And I think like what you said about like struggling to choose a favorite, and I think why that is because each of the characters in that first movie starts with a really good idea. Like there's a really good idea at the heart of Unikitty. There's a really good idea at the heart of Benny, and it's a good idea that is built outwards into a character. And it's very rare that you see a movie where all of the characters feel like that. All the characters feel like they began with one really good idea. And I think that actually it also represents like the imagination of Lego, and the characters had a very beautiful kind of mismatch quality. Like these are random characters to throw together, but that is what a kid playing with their toys would do. Like Batman is not just gonna be with the Batman characters; they're gonna have Batman and Darth Vader. You know,
Yeah.
and that's what playing with with toys as a kid is like. And I think the mix of characters really captured that feeling.
Mhm. What I wanna say, I totally forgot. Um. So, anything else you wanna say? Or I try to remember what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think like without going into spoilers, this movie has really interesting things to say about growing up.
Yeah.
About and the whole idea, like very early on, you told me that the first thing that we heard from Lord and Miller is this is going to be about how the way boys play with toys is different from the way girls play with toys, and they're
Yeah.
going to explore that with the brother and sister character. And then it was like, okay, that's a good idea. And as you watch the movie, you realize like how deep that goes. Like it's so much more than just that one line, that description that I just gave you. And the way they flesh it out and develop that is very satisfying. And yeah, like when they talked about gendered toys, I immediately flashed to Rebel, the Nerf line that was aimed at girls. So it was like pink crossbows, and they had names like Heartbreaker, and it was just kind of weird. It's like, Katniss doesn't have a pink bow and arrow or crossbow, or Merida doesn't have a pink bow. So it's like, why does a girl's gun or a girl's like tool have to be pink? And that
Wouldn't
was
mind it though. Just saying.
sorry.
I wouldn't mind a pink gun.
Like, yeah, I mean that it can be a choice in a sense, but it felt like that was something the industry was dictating.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so this is for boys, this is for girls. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, if it's just like how in McDonald's says the toy that's meant for girls, the toy that's meant for boys, and if a kid chooses the toy for the other gender, like suddenly something's wrong with that, you know? So,
Yeah.
So
And
that's
ev-
sorry. Go
and
ahead.
even more so if a boy chooses a girl thing.
Oh, of course, yeah. There's so much more of a stigma with that, and that's part of why, like, I really love the exploration of masculinity and the idea of what the expectations are of a boy growing up. Like, boys are expected to act a certain way, a certain kind of badassness and toughness. And I think like there's a great parallel between Emmett and Hiccup
Yeah.
in that both characters are innately
Hufflepuffs.
very much Hufflepuffs. Like I love that someone uses Hufflepuff as an insult in this movie. I audibly went, oh. Like someone says to Emmett like you're a total Hufflepuff.
Yeah. Yeah, if it makes you feel any better, Jet, when they said that Emma is a Hufflepuff, I turned to Lucas and said, "What the hell is wrong with that?"
Yeah, and that's like I love that, you know. I love the idea that um a character that's innately good feels that something is missing from them because they're not physically tough. And
Yeah.
that's what happens with Hiccup, and that's kind of the crisis that Emmett goes through in this movie. Like immediately he's faced with a version of like what he dreams he could be. And he was like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, this character that I've dreamt of that's not what I am, and I'm not good enough, and I think that Lucy wishes I were cooler, and I'm disappointing her by not being as cool as she is. And I thought that was a really cute arc for him, and it's very in character, and it also, like, I think that's something which a lot of young kids, and especially young boys, kind of grow through as a crisis of identity based on the images that are shown to them by media. It's like, can you imagine growing up in the 80s and every movie is Sylvester Stallone, is
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, every cartoon is G.I. Joe, He-Man, you know? And it's like I'm glad that we kind of live in a post-Dave the Barbarian age.
Yeah. And like because I grew up with like Kim Possible and Totally Spies, right? Where the girls can kick ass and they're very pretty and thin, and you kind of see them as one. So like you have to be pretty and kick ass, and that's what makes you a girl. And you reject the idea of anything pink or anything cute, and that makes you so much better than other girls,
Right, yeah.
right?
Like
Like
you need to shed your femininity. Like a femininity is a sign of weakness.
yeah. So it's
Which is part of Lucy's arc as well.
yeah, and it's like I'm not sure whether you've ever been through that phase where I don't know whether you like Disney that much, but you go through a phase where you're like, oh no, Disney that's for kids. You know, I don't want to touch that. I'm a grown up now. And really, the true lesson to being adult is not being afraid of what other people think of you. It's not what you do. It's what, or rather, it's not what other people think. It's how confident you are in yourself. And I don't think that's the message of this film, but like it
No, I
feels
think
that way
that's
to
part
me.
of the message. Yeah, that's part of
Yeah,
the
it's
message.
like I really love the last two films that I watched that I mean not counting Greatest Showman had a main character who is kind, who is compassionate, and that is their main thing. You know, you don't see them, you go, oh, I wish I was as tough as them. You look at them and you think, I wish I was as kind as them.
Yeah.
I wish I could, feel for people like they feel for people or they feel for animals on Hiccup's part. But
Yeah, and Emmett has a bit where he tickles a velociraptor, which is like my
yeah,
favorite
which
part
is
of this
very
movie.
cute.
Yeah.
And it's nice, that boys can finally see that it's not all about being tough, because being tough just can will not do anything to you. Like it will just, how do I say, toxic masculinity, right? Like
Very much,
it's
yeah.
okay.
And
But
that's like
I also don't want to shame people, like because that's the thing, right? As a kid, as a girl growing up, you don't want to do anything that females stereotypically do because that's seen as a bad thing. And I don't want boys to think that, just because you go to the gym and stuff like that, oh, you must be a fat boy. Like I don't know, I
yeah,
find
it's kind of like
it's weird that we're
it's
going to that point now. It's
yeah,
cool
yeah.
though that we are trying to tell boys that femininity is sometimes is most of the time good, because you should be allowed to be emotional. You should be allowed to let yourself to be open about yourself, because you can't always keep it bottled in, and that's always associated with females.
Yeah, conceal, don't feel.
Yeah, sure. And how dare you? Frozen. Okay, but yeah, I really like that this is the message that they're trying to tell boys.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope that, because now girls are course correcting, we are trying to be like, oh, strong independent females. They're the in thing right now, which is something I don't want. I don't want strong independent whatever. I want I want kids to know that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, yeah,
It's okay
yeah,
to be vulnerable. Like, you
yeah.
don't always have to be tough.
And
And
yeah, I really like, weird example, but I really like this in Paranorman as well.
yeah, Paranorman, yeah, I love Paranorman. Maybe that's why I like Norman so much,
Yeah,
because
yeah. Because he's weird, but
he's
it's nothing
he's
wrong
not,
with that. Yeah,
yeah, and he's not like the typical hero. And in the end of the day, it was his kindness that won.
yeah, yeah. And I think like that's kind of the fantasy of every outcast, is like the thing that people make fun of you for is the thing that you wind up using to save everybody. And
Mhm.
that's kind of that's the X-Men, and that's what happens with Norman as well. And yeah, I mean, I totally like what you said about strong independent female characters. That reminded me very much of James Cameron dunking on Wonder Woman, where he was very critical of Wonder Woman, and he said that he didn't believe that, he didn't like the idea of Wonder Woman being physically beautiful and like her makeup is all in place, and he because in his mind there's only one type of badass female character, and that is a badass female character who is like a man. and
Yeah.
and and that's like there's nothing wrong with the characters of Ripley and Sarah Connor, and those are characters whom I love and who are very important in cinema canon. But that's not the only kind of strong that a woman can be,
Yeah.
So in his conception of it, like his thinking is that that's the only way a woman in a movie can be strong, and that's why he didn't like Wonder Woman.
It's so sad.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love what's her name? From Terminator,
Linda
the mom.
Hamilton.
Sorry?
Linda Hamilton.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what was
Sarah
the
Connor.
character she plays? Sarah Connor, yeah. I love Sarah Connor. Like, I love her transformation. So it's kind of sad that James Cameron thought, Wonder Woman isn't worthy of being a, s- a female character, I guess,
Yeah, like
who is strong,
he
who
felt
just
like
happens to be strong.
because she's not gritty, she's not believable, because she's not like covered in grime through the whole movie, and it's like that's weird, like I was thinking, why does he think that? And it's because that's his idea, is that a woman needs to be like a man to be tough. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, now that makes sense. And yeah, what you said about the fear of coming off as childish, that is very much a theme in this movie. And like the towards the end, a character is revealed to be a villain, and that character like is kind of espousing how cool and tough and grown up they are. And one of my favorite quotes is from C.S. Lewis. And, he says, "When I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up."
Yeah.
And so I love what he said, which is that, critics who use the term adult as a term of approval instead of merely as a descriptive term cannot be adult themselves, because to want to be grown up, to like fetishize being an adult, means that you yourself are immature.
Yeah.
And that's why like people who say, oh, that's for kids, that's silly, like there's an insecurity underpinning that, and it's kind of a societal expectation that as an adult you're supposed to not play with toys, you're supposed to not do things which are associated with kids, you're supposed to stop playing video games, that kind of thing, and it's like, uh why do we think that? And drilling down to the why is kind of interesting, and this is something which I thought was a lot of fun. And I love that this movie had a literal 5-year gap from the previous movie, just like in real life.
Yeah.
So they took advantage of that to kind of age the kids up a little bit and show what happened in the years in between. And someone whom I watched the movie with noticed this, and I didn't notice it at first, which is originally the invaders are Duplo, and then they get a little bit more complicated because the girl grows up.
Mhm.
So over the years, like the invading force evolves because the girl is kind of like more noticeably growing up than the boy, since she's much younger than the brother. It's like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Do you want to go on to spoilers? I recommend this film.
I recommend this
I
film a lot,
I really really like it.
I
Like,
love this movie. Yeah.
don't obviously don't expect it to be as good as the Lego movie, but it is a worthy successor.
Yeah, if you love the Lego movie, like, there's no reason you won't at least like this one.
Yeah.
Because it does like all the things that you liked about the first one, but it kind of takes it in a slightly different direction, and that's what I want from a good sequel.
Yeah. All right. So spoiler alert. Blah,
Yeah.
blah.
The one cameo that you liked.
Oh yes, Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis, yeah. And I was like, okay, why? Why Bruce Willis? And then I realized he's on Looper. Because, yeah,
Ah.
because the main character, there's an aged version of the main character who is the main character's companion for the whole movie.
Yeah.
I
Oh, I see. I see.
was like, oh, okay. So I hope that was intentional. I think it has to be.
It probably wasn't.
Yeah.
I want to say that I took the Rex being the what's someone called the older version of Emmett or the future Emmett to be like a metaphor for why Andy Dwyer will always be the best Chris Pratt character.
Yeah, and like his whole line of how, my chiseled features were hidden under a layer of baby fat.
Yeah.
And the way that he's an amalgamation of all these Chris Pratt characters. And I
It's
think, like, yeah, I feel like there's a bit of a nod to Cowboy Ninja Viking as well, which is supposed to happen.
yeah.
That
And
hasn't happened
like
yet.
I really do wonder, did they see Chris Pratt's career just take off after the Lego movie or after Guardians of the Galaxy and go, why don't we write a character that's like Chris Pratt? Like it's amazing how it parallels Chris Pratt so much.
Yeah,
Like
that's
nowadays he takes
it's an
I really
alternate universe Chris Pratt.
and I really hope Chris Pratt goes back to the goofy guy one day.
Yeah, I want him to get
'Cause
fat
I
again.
I
Please,
miss
please, Chris
that.
Pratt
I
get
miss
fat
that
again.
Chris Pratt so
Yeah.
much, and it's really nice to see him be the old Chris Pratt as Emmett.
Yes, yeah, to like just like a human golden retriever. I
Yeah,
mean, like, one of my favorite gifs in existence is the reaction gif from Parks and Rec, where he's going and,
Yep.
and yeah. So I love that so much because that is like the essence of that
Andy.
character of Andy, yeah, and the crisis of inside Emmett, like when he says, so all of you can see him. He's not just something that I imagine. It's like, Fight Club.
Yep.
That's his Tyler Durden, That's the cooler version of him. I want you to hit me as hard as you can. And it's so interesting that this movie did that. That this movie like deliberately invokes Fight Club and deliberately invokes The Matrix, which are two movies that people love to kind of misinterpret.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and they're like, oh, I get these movies, so that makes me
Oh,
very
I
adult.
didn't even think of that. That's awesome.
There's
Yeah.
so many layers to it. The whole toxic masculinity thing is such a core part of the arc of the Emmett and Rex arc, and like the ship is shaped like a fist because boys are told, you punch everything. That's how you solve your problems.
Yeah.
It's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, it's really really good. Like I like thinking about this movie afterwards. It's like, okay, they went there and they did it like very confidently. So I think this movie will get a lot of backlash from like the red pill people.
Yeah.
From all the right wing like the incels and people like that.
Yeah. And I really like how dang it. Oh, and you see, like, cause you're talking about boys break with fist and whatever, whatever.
Yeah,
Because I
boys
didn't
solve
have
problems with their fists.
I I didn't grow up with boys. Like I went to an all girls school. I never had brothers, and I don't really talk to the boys in my church.
Right.
So
Okay.
I don't know what boys were taught. So when they said, "Oh, you break the thing," I was like, "Oh, because the the boy was mad at his sister." So like when you talk about this, I'm like, "Oh, okay, that links up to the toxic masculinity thing that they have," and yeah, I really love that message behind it because I think the world would be so much better if we're all nicer to each other.
Yeah.
And it's nice that kids are learning about this, now.
Yeah, it really, really is because like the way they set up Rex to be the much cooler version of Emmett, and then the message is you don't have to be that, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's much better to not be that, and sometimes
And
that is actually bad.
yeah, like even though they didn't do it for Emmett, because I think Emmett he became a damsel in distress at the end, but his arc didn't really teach. And oh wait, hang on, it did, right? Because he learned that he didn't have to be like Rex,
Yes, that's
so
his
Rex
arc,
disappeared
yeah.
at the end. But
Because then Rex would never exist.
yeah,
Yeah.
but him being soft didn't really save the day. But I like that because the boy decided to apologize to his sister and decided to show a little bit of emotion, or like what's the word called, kindness, I guess, to his sister. That was what saved everyone from the apocalypse.
Yeah,
So that
and
was, I thought that was really cool.
the twist, the reveal that whatever Wanabe was a peace offering.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, that hit me real bad. It's like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, and
That was the heart from the beginning of the movie. Became
yeah.
Tiffany Haddish. Like, wow, all right, that's very very clever. Yeah.
Mhm. Um and I like how everyone wasn't brainwashed. That was quite
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, it was so great. Like watching everyone get brainwashed. Uh, I love the banana character.
Yes. he When he fell, he's like, "Don't look at me."
Oh no,
and
no, why?
and Richard, that felt very like uh Rick and Morty kind of humor.
Yes, yeah,
So it's
yeah,
very odd to see that in the Lego movie, but
yeah.
I found out Richard Ayoade was the ice cream,
Yes, which is
which
I it was the ice cream. Yeah, I was like, who is this British man? Who is this British man? Who is it? I
well,
was like,
my
oh,
first
okay.
thought was this voice does not fit this character at all. And so I had to pay attention to the voice, and I realized who it was, and then I was very happy because I love him so much. Um, I I yeah, what else? I always keep Maya Rudolph was in this film.
Oh yeah,
Love
like
her.
when she first was up, like I turned to my friend Liverpool like Maya Rudolph, and
Yeah,
yeah,
and
so I felt like the one thing this movie was missing was the whole family being together, was Maya Rudolph and Will Ferrell and the kids.
yeah, why didn't he do this film?
Yeah, it was so weird. It was like they only had his voice.
Had his voice, and yeah, they only had his
Maybe
voice.
he was very busy with Holmes and Watson.
I hope not.
A much
I
better
hope
use
that's
of his.
not the reason why. I loved when she stepped on the Lego and was comparing it to childbirth.
That was so
That was very
funny.
cute.
Yeah.
And they paid off the "Where's my pants" joke at the end.
Yes, yes, that was so great. Like hearing the disembodied voice of Will Smith ask where his pants were. And oh yeah,
And
speaking of like stepping on Lego, that's the origin story of Stephanie Beatrice's scar.
oh,
Yeah, so
and she voices the
Mayhem. Yeah, she voices the
Mayhem. Yep.
general. So
I
the
really,
yeah,
I really love how every time the two sides are fighting, they sound like siblings.
yeah,
So
yeah,
when Batman shoots something and then it hits the toy, the girl toy, and she's like, "Oh, you missed," and then Batman goes, "Nah, I didn't."
yeah. The
That
way they
was
like
cute.
taunt each other. Yeah, it's and also when at the end when they had like the slap fight.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
thumb fight.
it's really interesting because it's like the movie, the twist at the end of the first movie was that there is this human world. So now that you have that knowledge, you interpret everything a bit differently, and I think the movie played on that in a very clever way,
Yep.
where it's like it's not lesser than, it doesn't make the world less interesting that you know it's not real, but it informs you another layer.
There's a line that Abraham Lincoln says during Mamageddon.
I love it so much. Oh.
There's a line that Abraham Lincoln says in Mamageddon,
Yeah.
and he says, "Oh no, I had theater tickets."
I take a to the other.
Oh yeah, oh that was so good.
Oh, that is so happy. So yeah, Abraham Lincoln, just like in the first movie, voiced by Will Forte, who voiced Abraham Lincoln in Clone High, which was the
Yeah.
thing that kind of like rocketed Phil and Chris Miller to fame. And
Mhm.
yeah, that movie is really great because in that movie, like they all go and eat, their hangout spot is a cafe that is themed after presidential assassinations.
Mhm.
So every time Abraham Lincoln is sitting in a booth drinking a milkshake, there's a gory drawing, a painting of him getting his brains blown out, like hanging right behind him. It's so great.
I
The
should
cafe
watch.
is called the Grassy Knoll, and the Grassy Knoll
Oh.
is a reference to the conspiracy theory of there was a second shooter hiding.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so great. Yeah, it's great because in that movie, in that series, sorry, like Abraham Lincoln is kind of the awkward hero, and then John F. Kennedy is the jock who gets all the girls,
Yeah.
and they kind of like have a rivalry, and Gandhi is the nerdy like party best friend.
Yeah. Which India did not like.
India did not like, and that's why they didn't get a second season. Yeah, it's a very, very good show. Like, it's that there exists concept art of this show called Gotham High that never got made. I think you might have seen the concept art where it was kind of like a cross between, you know, like it was Batman as Clone High,
Yeah.
and that was kind of fun. It was like all the Batman villains and heroes reimagined as high school kids. It's a high school AU animated series, and I look at those drawings like, oh, I really wanted to see that.
Um. Do you have any? Oh, I want to say the end credit song. Awesome.
Yeah, that forces that like begs people to stay behind, and oh,
Yep.
I
And
love like all the kids sending in their pictures. It's so
yes,
cute.
that was very cute.
Oh.
I like when the actors came up and Lonely Island was rapping about how they get the most money, even though they're only in the studio for like 4 hours. Those poor
Yeah,
things.
I love that so much. Yeah, it's so self aware. It's just kind of
That's no
deliciously
full
self
song. I
aware.
couldn't find it online.
It's not out. Oh, I would have
No.
thought that that would be like the single that they lead with.
And also I think the end credits was live action, so that was really amazing.
Oh, as in like they built like the mechanical rig where they're
Yeah.
winching it. Oh my gosh, yeah. Wow. Wow.
Because I was
Yeah.
wondering why they had so many shots of the same thing and not just show us the straight one, but apparent. I think it's live action.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That would be so cool. Yeah. Oh, it's really, yeah, it's really really good. And I think like I just am constantly impressed by the how deep they went with the toxic masculinity thing.
Mhm.
And I also like I don't know how they do it, but all the pop culture references are very endearing. Like none of it feels like a thing that Shrek sequel DreamWorks would do. Where in a Shrek sequel you would get the pop culture references and you would groan and roll your eyes.
For the record, I still like Shrek 2.
No, yeah, Shrek 2 is great. It's like 3 is very, very bad. And actually I have a soft spot for 4. I think 4 is not awful.
I genuinely thought that Shrek was gonna die in Shrek 4.
In for yeah, which okay, funnily enough, that movie was directed by Mike Mitchell. So that was by the guy who did Lego Movie 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was looking up his filmography and he did that. And
Alright.
yeah, I'm not sure what else he did, but I think he worked in
Oh, he did Sky High too, I think.
really. Oh, okay. Let
I
me Google
think.
that. Mike Mitchell. Yeah, because at first they was saying that this was going to be Chris McKay, who
Yeah.
was the animation director on the first one and also did like a bunch of Robot Chicken, and then they passed it on to this guy. Yeah, he did Sky High as well,
Yeah, Sky High was great.
and the live action bits of the SpongeBob movie.
Oh, that's good. I love, by the way, I didn't really like the second SpongeBob movie, but the live action for that SpongeBob movie, the way it's rendered and the way it's animated and the way it's modeled, it's so good.
Oh, okay.
Like I can't usually, the translation from 2D to 3D looks really ugly,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you have the live action thing as well, but
Yeah,
it
Exhibit
looks
A,
so good. It
Detective Pikachu's Jigglypuff.
I can't say anything about that because I want to get higher in the future. But I I was so impressed by the animation in SpongeBob. It looked straight out from like it looked like 3D SpongeBob. It it's so good. I don't get it. Like it looks like it's 2D animated, but you know it's 3D because it looks like it's 3D. So I have no idea how they did it. It looks so good. I don't know if you've seen it before. Just I think the live action bits are only like 10 minutes,
Right, yeah.
but it's done so well.
Oh, and what else did he direct? He also directed Shipwrecked. Alvin
Okay.
and Chipmunks Shipwrecked. Oh, and he
To be
directed he
honest, I
directed
think he did
Trolls.
that as a favor.
Yeah, so he's a DreamWorks person. And he did like Shrek Forever After and Trolls.
Oh, he did Trolls?
Yeah, he did Trolls,
Oh, good for him.
and he was a story artist on Monsters vs Aliens.
I love that movie.
I love that movie too. Yeah, I I love like the meme that Godzilla 2 King of the Monsters is the gritty remake of Monsters vs Aliens.
Yep.
Mothra! Mothra.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed Lego Movie 2. I don't think it's gonna do as well in the box office as the first one, but I hope people watch it. I think it's a very good follow up, and good.
Yeah,
more
like
main characters like Emmett, please.
yeah, very
And
very much so.
I do find it cool that the last two films I watched, again, because Hiccup and Emmett are very similar, they got saved by a female, which is kind of cool. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that
I find that really cool.
repeatedly happens to Wally.
Yeah. Honestly, I forgot what Wally is because I didn't like that film. So
Oh,
anything I
I
watched,
love Wally.
I forgot.
That's so weird. I feel like you would like Wally.
I feel like I would like it too because it's like a forbidden love story. And you know
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
to rewrite the stars, but
Yeah, it's a forbidden love story, and it's like the guy is kind of an endearing loser,
yeah.
and the
It's
girl
weird.
is
Maybe
leagues above him.
I should watch it again cuz
Yeah,
I watched it too young,
it's
I
really beautiful.
guess.
Like, it's
I
quite
just
funny.
found I
Sorry, go
found
ahead.
the environmental message a little bit too on the nose,
Right, yeah.
and that put me off. Like it's a good message, obviously, but I wish it was told a little bit better.
I totally get that. And the short Burn E is spectacular. Like that's one of the best pieces of storytelling I've ever seen. Have you heard of Burn E?
No.
So it's a short film that takes place like concurrently with Wally, and it focuses on this character
Oh,
who
this
is
little robot,
yeah
right?
the welder
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
and
I've seen it.
his sole job is to weld, and it's so great. It's so great because it's like everything goes wrong for him, and he's just trying to do his job. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
really beautiful. Yeah, it's funny.
I remember that now. Yeah, any final words for Lego Movie 2?
Yeah, it's like you were talking about everything is awesome, and the movie kind of like rewrites everything is awesome, and part of the message is everything's not going to be awesome all the time, but we can hope for it to be, you know.
And it may not always be awesome all the time, but that doesn't mean we give up.
yeah, and I love that. I love that kind of modified that, and I mean, I think what a lot of people forget about everything is awesome is that that was a song that was written to control the masses. You know,
Yeah.
it was like everything that was manufactured by Octan, by President slash Lord Business, was kind of a way to keep everyone in line. Where's my pants? You know, keeps everyone in line. It's so interesting. It's all like bread and circuses. It's all very very 1984. And yeah, Where's My Pants is kind of like the PG version or the G-rated version of Ow My Balls
Okay.
from Idiocracy. Have you
Yeah.
seen Idiocracy?
Nope.
That I think you'd love it because like Maya Rudolph is the lead female character and Terry Crews is the president.
Yes. Okay. You said Terry Crews.
Yeah, President Terry Crews. So in like the premise of Idiocracy is that it's in the far future and this guy who was frozen in 2005 is defrosted. So he's like an average guy and was kept in a lab as an experiment. It's a bit like Futurama. And then when he's defrosted in the far future, he's the world's smartest man because the whole of Earth, like the collective IQ has dropped so low that everyone on Earth is an idiot.
Okay.
So it's a satire like future dystopia story, and it's really really funny. Where the idea is like if smart people don't have kids and dumb people have kids, then dumb people inherit the Earth.
Mhm.
So there are things that happen in real life where people are like, "Oh, this reminds us of Idiocracy," and I think we saw that a lot in the recent presidential election. So
Yep.
Terry Crews wanted to do like attack ads against Donald Trump as his president character, but Fox didn't let him do it.
Oh, okay.
And it's so great. Terry Crews' character is a pro wrestler, porn star turned president.
Okay. That sounds like it sounds kind of similar to the Pac-Man film, the one where the invaders came to Earth.
Pixels?
And Pixels, yes.
Yeah.
It sounds like that.
Oh, I shudder at the thought of Kevin James as a porn star. No thanks. Terry Crews as a porn star is fine. Makes a Gina noise. Yeah, so, like, it's kind of interesting how subversive the first Lego movie was, and there's this weird anti-consumerist message in a movie that is a long toy ad.
Mhm.
Oh, I forgot to say, I love Ultra Kitty.
Oh yeah.
Uni Kitty's like saber-toothed tiger form.
Her animation for the transformation is amazing.
So good, so good, yeah. Like the way things that they really got the right like degree of stop motion jerkiness,
Yeah.
and they kind of wrote that into the program. It's so good that this animation style is so good. I love like watching things, imagining like if this was stop motion, this would take people 5 billion years.
Mhm.
They would have to start like in the Precambrian era.
All right. So that's the end of the Lego Movie.
Oh yeah, the
Uh,
Lego Movie too. Go watch this. It's so good. Oh yeah, the time machine joke was funny. I love all the time machines they reference.
and I really like that they also probably didn't think too much about the time traveling and just dismissed it as these things are very weird. Don't think about it too much,
Yeah,
and it worked for me.
I saw one comment like in a Facebook group saying, I wish that the villain wasn't so complicated. I had to explain to my 6-year-old son about the time paradox.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's the line in Looper where Bruce Willis tells Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like, if we were gonna explain this, I'd have to sit here making diagrams with straws all day, and I'm not gonna do that. I think that's one of
Mhm.
my favorite like meta lines in a time travel movie. It's like, I don't want to make diagrams with straws.
Why do people still play with time travel? I don't understand that. No one gets it. Uh, well. Oh, and I do love that Rex has all the like plot convenience devices.
Yeah.
That was so good just to get like plot moving along. So
Yeah,
I
like
really like that.
he's sort of like his ship is filled with Deus Ex Machinas.
Yeah.
And oh, the Raptor crew is adorable. It is so
Yep.
great. That
And I love that the Raptors that got brainwashed were was Ripley, Connor, and the other one.
yeah. Well, is that a reference to, yeah? That's
Yeah, it's a reference to
right.
all the sci-fi.
Heroines,
Yeah.
because
Is
yeah,
it?
I think so, because they're like,
Oh yeah.
right,
Oh
Ellen
yeah.
Ripley, Sarah Connor.
Oh, I was thinking about his her son, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool if that was the case,
I think
because
so.
those
Yeah,
are tough women.
and also because like raptors are traditionally women in Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
So I think the idea was that they were all like, it was staffed by a crew of girls, which is kind of great. Oh yeah, and when he went, like when Rex told Emmett, the Matrix is only a movie that you get if you're grown up and cool. It's like, oh wow,
Mhm.
they're doing that. It's like, I did not expect them to like pull that pull Fight Club. So very very cool. Yeah, watch this movie, and this is one of those movies where like you watch it at 6, you will understand a certain amount, and you watch it at 10, you'll understand a certain amount. You watch it at 15, you understand a certain amount. And I
Yeah.
like animated movies that you can revisit like that.
Uh. All right. So, any movie you want me to watch next week, or any movies that you think that's coming out next week that you want to talk about if we have the time?
Yeah, I don't know like what's coming up soon. That's yeah. I mean, I didn't talk about Cold Pursuit, but I did see that and I did like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
The
the Liam Neeson
Liam
one,
Neeson one.
the one that
Okay.
he's currently in a bunch of trouble for.
Yeah. And okay, I don't want to say anything
Yeah,
about
neither
it.
do I. It's a
Uh.
thorny issue. I like. It just makes me
Yeah.
really uncomfortable because I love Liam Neeson.
The I well, the next film that's interesting that's coming out is The Favorite, but
Right.
I don't know
Yes.
whether we can talk about that
Yeah, I
because
don't know. It's
it's not.
a, yeah. I've seen it. Difficult movie to talk about.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that is really really good, but it's not really my thing. Like
Mhm.
it is very very art house. And I think people were saying that Yorgos Lanthimos is too weird for the Academy to nominate as Best Director, but they did. They went ahead and nominated him as Best Director anyway, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm still trying to get over the Bohemian Rhapsody Best Editing nomination. What?
Yeah.
What? What?
Uh.
That was a movie
I
that John Ottman stitched together in a panic. It's like, oh no, I have to make the movie now. That's what Bohemian Rhapsody felt like.
if we have nothing to talk about next week, and if we do have time to talk, can we talk about Greatest Showman? Because I really want to talk about that film.
Yeah,
There's
okay,
so
okay.
much to unpack because it's such a morally. It just feels like a
Fraught. Yeah,
wrong,
it's very
wrong film.
fraught.
Like
Yeah.
I can't get over the subject matter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really love the sincerity of this film. So it's very weird, and I really need to unpack it because I
Yes.
want to learn from this film on how to be a crowd pleaser while seemingly just saying fuck it to reality.
And also Jeremy Jordan, you will always be Philip in my
You will listen. I love Zac Efron, okay, and I'm happy that he was cast in this film, and I love Jeremy Jordan with all my heart as well. And if you haven't listened to his Disney medley, please do. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I
also
want
listen to his It's All Coming Back to Me Now, which is nuts.
yes,
He
I
slays that. Like the backup singers are so off key, but he's so
I
so good in that one.
I want him to be a Disney prince.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's fine because you have the word Disney in there, so it will make money. I understand why they casted Zac Efron, so make up for this. Make up for
You
this, make him a
you
Disney
know what would
prince.
be interesting? I would want a movie that is kind of like Enchanted, but is about the prince. It's like a spoof of the useless prince,
Yeah.
and that's the main
How
character.
dare you?
And he's kind of like discovering like the early, Prince Philip, Prince Charming from
Okay.
Cinderella, and
So if you don't talk shit about my Aladdin.
the evolution of that into Aladdin, into Eugene. So it's like I think that would be interesting if Disney did a spoof of their early princess, and kind of the character over the course of the movie finds himself becoming one of their Renaissance male leads.
But here's the thing, right? Because nowadays, a lot of films they kind of want the guy to be useless, and not useless in the sense of like Hiccup and
No,
Emmett
yeah,
because they
they're
aren't
not useless.
useless.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
because
just
they
like
aren't
not
useless.
traditionally.
But that's the thing, right? Because a lot of people. I'm gonna okay. Maybe we should also talk about the analysis of Emmett and Hiccup versus what what a lot of hero characters are, because that to me is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I love that too. I want
Because
to
they
talk about that too.
like those two always need saving. Like no one else's business. Those two always need saving. But it never it's they never feel like a damsel in distress kind of situation where
Yes,
it
which is very unlike the boyfriend from Alita.
yeah.
I
And
hate him.
yeah, exactly. And it's really cool because they managed to break down masculinity with both of them. I can't say that word. They managed to break down both of them. Sorry, break down masculinity with both of them while never making them feel like they are just useless
Yeah,
people who always needs the girl to save them.
like the movie does not emasculate the leads.
They
It's
kind
yeah,
of do, but like not in a bad way.
not to the extent of mocking them. I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's that.
like
Yeah, yeah, that's
not Ghostbusters.
right. Kevin.
Yeah,
Ah,
and
good character.
because you look at the character like the one from Zootopia, the fox.
Right. Yeah, Nick Wilde.
Like I really like that he isn't the typical hero.
Yeah, it's a
It
noir anti-hero. Zootopia is a noir.
yeah.
And it's interesting, like, it evolved from a spy movie. It was going to be a spy movie parody, and then it evolved into a noir, and they're like, we can use the city as a setting for a noir, and it's like, oh, very cool. I'm just finding
I
excuses to say
just
the word noir. Noir.
I just hope. Well, then you should watch Miraculous Ladybug. I just hope that
Oh, that's
one.
right, yeah, yeah.
I
French.
hope one day. Oh, that boy. Okay, I hope one day that we don't see being rescued as a weakness.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
It's like the whole, like,
we
Lois Lane needing to be rescued by Superman
we all
thing.
need help,
Yeah,
and I
for
really
sure.
hope one day kids realize that being strong and independent is not the solution to weakness.
Yeah, and like I mean, that's kind of why I really loved, the ending of, or that sequence towards the end of How to Train Your Dragon 3, where everyone takes turns saving each other. And
Yeah,
there's like a daisy chain of everyone saving each other, and you can't do it if you remove one person from that chain.
yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like, well, I thought I had it, but I didn't have it, and then someone else had it for me. So that's what it's
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
It's awesome, right? Like it's so cool that we're saying this now because that's my problem with so many movies that came out recently. When I enjoy that nowadays the girls aren't the damsel in distress, because that always bothered me, and Nintendo should keep up with the times. But uh, but I don't like that to raise the women up. We bring them. Okay, we do have to bring the men down sometimes. Like we, of course, we do
Yeah,
because they're way too high
it's all
up. But
proportionate, right?
we
Yeah.
we can't we can't tell little girls if you're not strong, if you're not physically strong, or if you're not emotionally strong, you are not good enough.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
is a wrong mentality, and I've been fed that mentality since I was young,
Yeah, like,
and I realized that
to be strong, you have to be like a man.
yeah. But as I grew up, I realized that being a Hufflepuff is much better than being someone who is a strong, independent woman.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think being kind is so much harder than being a hardy, kick anything that makes me angry.
Yeah, and like a lot of times the people who do that, they are compensating and there's an insecurity like deep inside that they are trying to make up for. I mean, like that's something they play with the Rosa character on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like she has this exterior because there's a lot of things she hasn't worked out
Mm-hmm.
internally, and you gradually like see that with the introduction of her dad. It's like, oh, okay, so this is where that comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like that's a fun thing to break down, and it's always fun to see what is being modeled for kids. Like
Yeah.
what are kids being shown as this is what you should follow after. This is who your role model is, you know. And I think like the Lego movie, the range of characters, it's like, you know, there's a space for everyone. Like you can be a robot pirate and that's okay. You know, you can be like a split personality unicorn cat and that's okay. You can be Batman and that's okay. And I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can always be okay if you're Batman. Not really.
I love the tagline of the Lego Batman movie, which is be yourself unless you can be Batman.
Yes, that was so good.
Yeah, the other tagline like that I really liked was last year, the Teen Titans Go movie. The tagline, there was a poster which was start after the Justice League poster, and the tagline was,
Oh,
they
yeah.
can't save the world at all.
Oh yeah.
Ah, so fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how next week.
Yeah,
I spoke
and
Singlish, I realized. I'm so sorry.
We'll see how.
Uh yeah, so thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank
Sorry
you.
for rambling so much. I'm just so happy that
Yeah, me too.
Emmett and Hiccup are main characters, and this is the kind of main characters I want to see more often.
Yeah, and realizing like those are the two big animated movies that are out now, like made me happy.
And more Judy Hopps as well.
Yeah.
For females, for girls, because she is flawed, but her flaws don't define her. It's how she overcomes those flaws.
Yeah, Hufflepuff strong.
Hufflepuff. I am Team Hufflepuff, even though I'm a Gryffindor.
Thank you. We need that. I'm the first person to admit, yeah.
I'm the first person. Okay, fine.
No,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm technically somewhere in the middle. Like the test results are kind of like, you know, 51%, but it's usually leaning towards Hufflepuff, and I accept that. It's good.
Yeah. Besides, you can change your house if you just tell the Sorting Hat, you want to be a
That's true.
Hufflepuff.
Did you see that thing, like the meme? What insert the character here was this thing all along.
No.
I think like it's making fun of how J.K. Rowling
Oh, yes.
retroactively. So
Yeah.
it's like the Sorting Hat was gay all along.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things.
She just needs to stop talking.
Yeah,
Okay.
we split in the This and Joanne the episodes.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Sorry for rambling. Bye.